All right, everybody, welcome. Your saltwater guide, Captain Dave Hansen. We got a great show for you today. We're talking about fishing live bait, but hang in there real quick. FishingBooker.com makes it so that we can do these shows on Thursday because of FishingBooker.com. So I want to thank Fishing Booker now for all that they've done for your saltwater guide. Been there for us for a long time, and it's very, very good relationship that I have with Fishing Booker. I want to show you a little video a little bit later on the show about Fishing Booker. But if you're anywhere on the planet and you want to go fishing, all you got to do is type in fishingbooker.com on your phone or on your laptop or iPad, and you're going to find out who you can go fishing with in the area that you're at. Wherever you are on vacation and you need to go fishing, I have to go fishing every time I'm on vacation. So FishingBooker.com takes care of me, and it'll take care of you. And we got a great little video to show you in a little bit. But today, gang, a super exciting day. We haven't done a show like this in a very long time. I'm talking about live bait fishing. It's my favorite way to fish. It's what I love to do. I'm going marlin fishing with the boys from Okuma tomorrow and the next day on a beautiful Michelson. And it's all about live bait. We just ordered 50 live baits for tomorrow. So we got some live mackerel and live cavitos for casting on the marlin and drop back baits. Kelly girl and I, when we go fishing for rooster fish down here, we're fishing live mullet for the rooster fish. And then up in Southern California, I just love live bait fishing, whether it's live squid, live anchovies, live sardines. I'm a live bait guy. That's been my deal my whole life. I grew up at Dana Wharf sport fishing. Before that, San Clemente sport fishing. Southern California is a live bait fishery, gang, and it's different than anywhere else in the world. We have these large bait barges in every harbor from San Francisco to the Mexican border, which hold our live bait for us. We have boats that go out fishing for live bait every night with big nets, big seine nets. No, it's not the East Coast. We're not out there standing on the bow of our skiff throwing a throw net to catch bait. We have it made on the West Coast. We just pull up to the bait barge, and you've seen plenty of bait barge videos on my website, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube pages. You've seen plenty of those. And we are blessed on the West Coast, different than anybody else's fishery because of the fact that we have a live bait fishery out here. All the sport boats that run out of Southern California all have very large bait tanks on the back of their boats that can hold hundreds and hundreds of scoops of live bait, which comes out to be thousands and thousands of live bait. It's hard to wrap your head around it if you've never been out here on the West Coast. If you're from Texas or Florida and you guys pull up to those boats that have been out throwing the net all afternoon or all night or all morning, and then you pull up and you buy a little bit of bait from them. Out here on the West Coast, the bait barges hold thousands and thousands of little fish, anchovies or sardines or live squid, and you pull up to them and you simply exchange your money for the live bait. It's pretty easy to do. It's a way different thing. Yeah, absolutely, Justin. Justin's putting together some really bitchin' game plans for some of you that want to go do that deep water rockfish locally. There's all kinds of stuff going on. And what I'm trying to talk about today is the live bait fishery, and I'm just trying to explain it. Those of us on the West Coast, we already know, but I have a huge audience in Australia. I have a huge audience in Florida, and I have a huge audience in Texas. So we're just trying to let you all understand how different our live bait fishery is compared. When I pull up to the bait barge, I'm planning on spending, when I was running that big Hatteras in Dana Point, we would pull up and spend $300 or $400 on bait. No problem. On a big day, when we were going to go out for multiple days, we would spend $500 to $1,000 just on bait. Down here in Cabo, We're going fishing tomorrow. We just ordered 50 live baits, and they're $4 per bait, and we ordered 50 of them. But that's something that it's hard to wrap your head around, but it's such an incredible opportunity to catch fish, because you know what eats live bait? Everything. I know a lot of you love to fish lures and love to make 1,000 casts in a day to catch one fish, and that's what you guys like, and I understand that, and that's okay. I'm not here to say your way is wrong, my way is right, or whatever. I'm just saying I like to throw a bait in the water and catch a fish. I'm not much into making 900 casts to catch a fish. And I know a lot of you are. A lot of you plastic fishermen, a lot of you lure fishermen, you love to cast and wind in the line. I like to throw a bait out in the water, get a bite, and then allow the fish to eat the bait, set the hook, and then try to get them through whatever structure it is, or if it's a yellowtail or Bo, did we have fun fishing live bait when you were fishing with me out here on the West Coast? Absolutely. Bo lives in Hawaii. They don't have a lot of live bait fishing out there in Hawaii. I understand that. But it's a totally different fishery out here on the West Coast compared to anywhere else on the planet. Our head boats, if you will, our sport boats, are live bait fishing boats. They have massive bait tanks on the back of their boat. Why do they have these massive bait tanks on the back of their boat? Do you think it's just fun for them to drag thousands of gallons of water up and down the California coast? No, it's because live bait changes the game. The more live bait you have, the better the chance of catching fish. Good. John Stanley, he has a video on our website for those of you with the smaller boats. He makes bucket head bait tanks. He does very, very well putting it together. He understands the concept of how the water needs to flow in the bait tank to keep your bait alive. So if you don't know, go check it out on our website, yoursaltwaterguide.com, and you can see the camera looks blurry. I wonder why. Let's see. What are we doing wrong here? 1080. Let's see. Did that help at all, everybody? Does the camera look better now, Elliot? I don't know why it would look blurry. Yeah, I'm on 1080. Was it dirty? Fuzzy as hell. I got the light right here in my face. Okay. Anybody? Everybody? Hello? Can you see me? Do I look clear? Because I spent a bunch of money on a camera, and camera was clear, but it's not clear anymore. Great. Hold on. How about now? Now it looks even more fun. You clear on YouTube? Okay. All right. I don't know. I'm trying. But we're talking live bait. Kind of threw me off. Elliot, does it look better? Does it look bad? Does it look good? It's crystal clear to some people. It was blurry. Looks good now. Okay. Maybe it was my thumbprint on there. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Back to what we were talking about, live bait. All right. So the more live bait you have, the better the chances of catching fish in Southern California. Live bait fishery out here on the West Coast. We have epic amounts of bait out here on the West Coast, way more than you guys have on the East Coast or in Texas. If you watched our show on Friday, we had Carl from Air Pelikia on the show, and Carl was letting everybody know the massive schools of anchovies that are living right off our coastline here in California. That's why it's imperative that you have a lot of live bait, because we're competing with all the live bait that's out there right now. We're competing with all that. So it's super important to understand how important live bait is. All right. So the first thing that happens when you call me up and you ask me, or Justin or Pablo or Al, hey, I want you to come with me on my boat and teach me how to fish. The first question we always ask you is, do you have a bait tank? Well, no. And at least I always say, okay, well, let me know when you get a bait tank, because I can't go on your boat and go fishing with you if you don't have a bait tank. You're not Benny Florentino. You're not Jimmy Decker. You are not the plastic guru dude that can cast 100,000 times a day and catch a fish. You've got to be very, very good at casting in order to catch fish like Benny Florentino or Jimmy Decker or any one of the plastic guru dudes that catch fish. Efren over at Warbaits, all those guys, you've got to be very, very good at casting. I don't mean just being able to hit the water when you cast your lure out. I mean being able to place your lure in the exact spot it needs to go so that you can crank it across the area where the fish is. Where live bait, you don't have to be perfect because the fish will actually come out to eat the live bait. That's why I believe in my heart, from doing this for a living for 50 plus years, that if I can take you fishing and we have a plethora of live bait, I know it's going to be a great day. And if I have a bait tank full of anchovies, oh my goodness, it is just going to be the most incredible experience you've ever seen in your life, because most people, when they go fishing, they want to catch something. And you know what eats live anchovies? Everything. Marlin eat them, wahoo eat them, black sea bass, white sea bass, yellowtail, calico bass, sand bass, barracuda, bonita, halibut. Everything eats anchovies. Why are anchovies my favorite? First of all, you get more. You can put way more live anchovies in your bait tank, and more is always better. And you should know that from listening to me for so long. That's why I'm sober today, because I always thought more was better. And then the other thing is, you don't have to let them eat it so long as you do a big giant sardine. When you cast that anchovy out in the water and it hits the water and it starts to swim, that fish can eat that whole anchovy in one bite. Hook up. When I go fishing, it's all about catching. I don't want it, like Justin and I say all the time when we're doing these podcasts together, nobody wants to go fishing. Everybody wants to go catching. You do, she does, he does, they do. Everybody wants to catch, especially if you go out with Justin or Pablo or Al or Sonny. You're seeing all the videos that Justin posts all the time of people catching all these different fish. So when you get on his boat, you're not going on his, you didn't pay money to go fish, go out on Justin's boat to go fishing. You paid money to go catching. You did. I'm sorry. I'm just being honest. And that goes back to what I used to talk about when I was running sport boats. Okay. Nobody on the planet that would come out on a sport boat fishing with me wanted to go fishing. They all wanted to go catching. And I used to hear them standing down on the rail when I would drive around trying to find you fish. And I could hear the people on the deck say, God, I wish you would just stop. I just want to fish. And I would just get on the PA and say, no, you don't. And they would be like, oh, words from above. And I go, no, you don't. You want to catch. I know you want to catch. I know that's why you came on the boat with me. You want to catch. And anchovy or live bait is going to change what you catch. And the more live bait you can hold, the better fishing's going to be. Now, these bait barges up and down the Southern California coast are incredible because you can basically pull up and exchange your money for bait. What a great concept. When I went fishing in Florida, we had to spend the first couple of hours, and I don't know about you, but time is super valuable. The first couple hours we spent running around, throwing the throw net, throwing the throw net, throwing the throw net. And then we finally got enough bait to fish with for the day. But we had to throw the net, I think, 20 times. And when I go to Adolfo's Lopez Mateos, fishing with Ruben is the same thing. We'll spend 2 or 3 hours just throwing the net, which would have been 2 or 3 hours of phenomenal fishing. If we had a bait barge to pull up, I would definitely exchange my money for bait just like that, because time is the only real thing we have that's super valuable is your time. And I know you guys on the East Coast go, oh, just go catch your own. Well, that's because your time isn't as valuable as mine. My time's super valuable. I'd rather change money for bait than time for bait. I'd rather have a bait tank full of bait and go fishing right when I leave the harbor. A lot of times, a lot of guys will want to catch mackerel for bait. And you guys that are watching the show, hey, Cubby, you guys that are watching the show know how hard it is to catch mackerel for bait when you want mackerel for bait. If you don't really need them, you can catch them all day long. But when it's time to catch mackerel for bait, 9 out of 10 times it's going to be the day where they don't bite, or you spend a couple of hours trying to find that mackerel. If you can pull up to the bait barge and buy big sardines, what a great concept. That's why West Coast fishing is so different than East Coast fishing, because of the bait barges and the bait companies. Now, San Diego has the largest bait company in the world. I believe right now they have 5 boats that fish bait for them. And these are big boats. They look like kind of like deadliest catch boats, if you will. And these guys are going to go out. They're going to leave the harbor around 4 or 5 in the afternoon, and they're going to go out and fish all night during the height of the season. And they're going to bring this live bait into the harbor in the morning, early in the morning. Many of you have seen it where they don't have any bait at the bait barge, and we're all sitting in a big long line waiting for the bait boat to come in. And people start to get disgusted because there's no bait in the barge. When there's no bait in the barge, that's because the fish are biting, and the bait boats are doing their best to keep up with it as quickly as they possibly can. But one thing I want you all to pay attention to is your bait tank itself. There's many people on here that I've read their messages on other websites and on Facebook and Instagram where you say, oh, the bait sucked. All my bait was dead by the time I got to the island. Let me tell you something. It's not the bait. It's your bait tank. And we're going to get deep into that here in a few minutes. Going to get deep into that in a few minutes. I want to show you this quick video from Fishing Booker. And if it's not for Fishing Booker, we can't do this show. So check this out real quick, and we'll get right back to talking about your bait tank and how important it is. FishingBooker.com, wherever you are on the planet. Justin's a part of Fishing Booker. Al's part of Fishing Booker. Dana Orr Sport Fishing is a part of Fishing Booker. Most of the San Diego landings, because it allows you to have instant contact with the guides that fish in the areas that you're going to be fishing at. So check out FishingBooker.com whenever you're on vacation, wherever you're at. See who's going out fishing. Find out who they are. And those of you that fish all the time, you know what questions to ask to find out if they're going to fit into your day of fishing with your family, friends. But back to what we were talking about the bait gang. The Everingham Brothers Bait Company, James and Oceanside, San Pedro Bait Company in Newport and in San Pedro, and then the Ashley Bait Company up in Long Beach. And then as you move up the coast to Marina del Rey, Santa Barbara, Ventura, Oxnard, all those bait companies, gang, pride themselves on catching you the best possible bait for what you're trying to do. And they want to make sure the bait's alive when you buy it. But here's where the disconnect comes from. You have a box on your boat. The broker that sold you the boat told you it's a bait tank, but we know it's a little square box in the back corner of your boat. We know that's not a bait tank. We've watched Dave's videos a million times. We know we need a bait tank that's round or oval in shape, that can hold 30, 40, 50, 60 gallons of water, and the water flows in one direction from the top to the bottom in a whirlpool type of situation, so the bait can swim against the current. We know, those of us that are part of your saltwater guy, we know that we're not getting tropical fish at the aquarium store and putting them in there. We know that air is going to kill our bait. We know that the bait tank has to change all the water in it every 8 minutes. And those of you that don't know this, you're starting to and I don't care if you're in Florida, Texas, you're in Australia, that bait tank needs to flow in one direction so that the bait fish have an opportunity to swim against the current. Most boats today don't have a bait tank. They have a live well where the water flows in on the top and flows out on the top. There's no oxygen in the water. There's no movement of the water. The water that's in that box where the water flows in the top and flows out the top, that is a bait killing box. It is not a live bait tank. I've helped hundreds and hundreds of our members of our website help design their box to actually allow the bait to live. Your bait tank, when you flip the switch on, that bait tank needs to fill up in 8 minutes. Not in 5 minutes, not in 11 minutes, in 8 minutes. If it fills up faster than 8 minutes, it's going to kill all your bait. It's going to rip all the scales off. It's going to slam it all up against the wall. It's going to kill it all. And if the bait, our tank fills up in 11 minutes, that's not fast enough. There's not enough oxygen in the water. It's going to look like Monterey Bay right now with all that bait in that bay that's dying because there's not enough flow. There's just not enough flow. So every single thing matters from today forward, gang. If you're a member of our website, you already know all this cool stuff. If you're just a passerby or watching this show going, this is kind of cool, but I don't really have a big, well, if you have a live well on your boat, and I don't care if you're fishing in Florida and you're putting shiners in there or whatever, Menden or whatever kind of bait you're calling it, if that bait's dying in your bait tank, it's not because the bait was garbage when you got it. It's because your bait tank is garbage. The water needs to flow from the top to the bottom. Now, if your drain plug for your box is on the top and the water flows in on the top, you got to slow down for a minute. Those of you that are going, this guy doesn't always listen. I do know what I'm talking about. I'm a live bait fisherman. I have been for 50 plus years. I've designed bait tanks for so many people. This is super important to understand. If the water flows in on the top and flows out on the top, the rest of that tank or box or whatever you're calling, there's no flow. There's no flow. So the first thing I teach people is take where the water flows in, put a 90-degree PVC pipe fitting, then take another piece of PVC pipe. Whatever the depth of your tank is, you're going to have that PVC pipe go from the top to the bottom, and you're going to drill little holes in one side of it so the water flows in a circular motion. It doesn't matter if it's clockwise or counterclockwise. The fish don't care. That's an old wives' tale. What it needs to do, though, is flow from the top to the bottom. It has to. And especially if your drain plug's on the top, it's got to flow so that all the water is moving. And it also, the bait has to be able to swim against the current. If you look in a sport boat bait tank, say you've been on the sport boat for a couple of hours or whatever, the bait gets acclimated to the tank. This is going to be the easiest way to figure it out. And look at it. All the bait in the bait tank is swimming in a circle. Yeah, it all is swimming in a circle, going around in circles. Why? Because the water's flowing in this direction and they're all swimming against the current and always headed back into the current. So when your water flows in, I like to hit the wall of the tank and have it spin in a direction. I don't want it just shooting right on the little fish's faces. I want it to hit the wall and deviate it around into a circle. You can see what I'm talking about. But the water has to flow from the top to the bottom. It's super important. It's super duper important. So the water flows from the top to the bottom, and it flows in a circular direction. And now the drain can be out the top. That's fine because now all the water's flowing. But what you all need to do today or tomorrow or when you go down to your boat, wherever it's at, you need to go down to your boat. You need to plug the bait tank. You need to turn on your stopwatch. You need to hit go when you turn on your stopwatch. And then you need to watch how long it takes to fill it all the way up to the top. If it takes 5 minutes, that's too fast. It's going to kill all your bait. And I know I'm redundant. I keep repeating myself. Why? I've been teaching people how to fish for a very long time and how to take care of their bait. And I find that if you repeat yourself, probably the third or fourth time, people start to actually get it. It starts to soak in. So those of you that go, gosh, you keep repeating yourself. Yeah, it's because this is what I do for a living every single day, gang. I teach people how to fish and how to keep their bait alive. And most people don't get it the first time, the second time. By the third time, they start to get it. If they haven't got it by the third time, I ask them if they understand English because I don't know how to speak a foreign language. So if they don't understand English, then it's going to be pretty hard to get them to figure out what I'm saying. But I look at people all the time. I go, stop jerking, start winding. And they keep jerking. And I'll ask them 3 times. Then I finally get right in their face and say, do you speak English? Yeah, well, then why aren't you listening to me? I want you to catch your fish more than you do. I want you to be able to catch your fish more than anybody. So it's super important. This live bait thing is super duper important. You've got to be able to understand how this live bait thing works. You got to understand how important it is. If you are finding that every time you go to the bait barge, when you leave, by the time you get to Catalina or the Coronados or the Channel Islands, your bait's dead, it's not the bait company. It's your bait tank. And it's super easy to fix the problem. I just went over it. And if you're still having a hard time, we have a website called Your Saltwater Guide. You can go on the website. You can learn all about bait. You can learn all about the bait tank. And if you're still having a hard time, you can pick up the telephone and call Justin. You can call Pablo. You can call Al. Or you can call me. The one thing I promise, though, when you call me, I don't sugarcoat anything. I just tell you how it is, whether you like it or not. It is what it is. I don't sugarcoat anything. I'm just the most honest person. I care that you catch fish, but I'm not sugarcoating everything. I'm going to tell you, you don't have a bait tank. You have what's called a live well. If you catch a largemouth bass, we'll be more than happy to come down and take pictures of it. It'll be cool. And we'll make the news because you'll have the first largemouth bass that's ever been caught in the ocean. That'd be pretty cool to be that person that catches the first largemouth. Also, every single person that's watching the show right now, if you can watch us on YouTube, it would really help my algorithm. For some reason, Facebook doesn't like me anymore. They don't like me. Even though I have 300,000 followers over there, they do not like Captain Dave anymore. You know who does? Instagram and YouTube. But if you go to YouTube, gang, our numbers are flying. I need you all to go to YouTube. I need you to go over there, follow us on YouTube, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. Because if you don't, and you hit the notification button, because if you don't, Facebook's not allowing you to see me anymore. And they're not allowing you to get notifications that I'm going live. But if you're over on YouTube, and if you look at a lot of our followers and a lot of the commenters are coming off of YouTube because YouTube is allowing people to see me. YouTube's also allowing you to get notified. I know you do, Tim, and I thank you. And Devin and Darren and everybody, I love all of you. I don't know why Facebook doesn't like me. I got a pretty good idea. They're not happy about what just happened 2 days ago, and they really don't like people telling the truth. So that's why they don't like me. But if you go over to YouTube, gang, you'll get notified when I go live. You'll also get notified every time I post a new video. And I post 3 brand new videos every single day. And they're fun videos. They're entertaining videos. They're funny. You got to remember, the sarcasm is dripping. There's nobody more sarcastic than me. You just got to understand. Don't take it personal. Don't get your feelings hurt. Don't get your panties in a wad. Understand every single word I use on every 1 minute video, the shorts that I post every day, they're designed to make people comment. All the verbiage, I don't waste words. I use a lot of words every day that requires a comment. When you comment, that helps the algorithm. When you leave a comment, it helps the algorithm. It pushes my videos out into front of more people. So the more comments I get, the better it is for me, the better it is for Kelly, the better it is for our monkey, and the better it is for you, because you're going to get to keep seeing all these funny videos that we post. 3 brand new videos every single day. Hey, Dave Burris, there's a gentleman over on the rod building. I haven't seen you post over there. He's asking questions. He builds rods. Go over and look on the rod building thing. I haven't seen you on there for a while. I wanted to tell you that. I keep forgetting. I just saw you post on here, so thank you. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the notification button on YouTube. It'll help us out. It'll help all of us out. And those of you that keep watching me on Facebook, thank you. I know it's hard to see me over there. They don't allow anything to be seen. I have a video right now about that little sculpin. It's got 48,000 views in one day on Instagram. It's got 12,000 views on YouTube, and over on Facebook, it has 400 views. It's the biggest suppression ever in the history of suppression. I don't know why. I don't know why. Well, we do. We were trying to save fishing there for a while. They did not like us talking about saving fishing. But hopefully the big waves changing here. America just voted for what they want. You just saw that for the first time in the history of the planet. Not only did he get the electoral votes, but he got the people. He got the majority of human beings on the planet voted for him. We're tired of the baloney. We're tired of the suppression. We're tired people. We're over it. So he got the majority vote, and he got the electoral vote. It's pretty incredible. It shows you, I think America's tired of it. I know I am. It doesn't make any sense to me. I went from 30 million views a month on Facebook to less than 1 million views a month on Facebook, all because I talk the truth. It's pretty sad. So as we go along, go forward here, live bait fishery in Southern California is super important to understand it. It's a different fishery. If you guys on the East Coast haven't been out here, there have videos on my YouTube channel and all my other channels. You can go and just type in bait barge. You'll see what we're talking about. And yes, Dave at Deckhand Sports, super important to tip your bait barge attendant. Now, when I made that tipping the bait barge attendant video, we had a lot of green hairs that said, oh, I was tipping things out of control. Well, it isn't really. I understand people at Starbucks don't deserve a tip, but the guy at the bait barge absolutely deserves a tip. They're out there scooping bait to you all morning long, hundreds of boats coming up to the bait barge. They are absolutely making sure that you're going to have the best day you can possibly have when you're out fishing on your boat. Remember, every time you look into your bait tank, you're going to see the bait attendant's face. That's why it's imperative to tip them. And like I said before, when you tip them, they remember you. When you don't tip them, they really remember you. Now, am I going to tell you they're going to give you a little bit more bait or a little bit better bait if you tip them? I'm damn right I am. Absolutely. I'm only telling you the truth. It matters, gang. It absolutely matters. Those bait barge attendants work their butts off. They're on that bait barge all day, all night. Understand, if anybody on the planet deserves a tip, it's the guys that are working the bait barge. For goodness sakes, gang. Your whole day revolves on the West Coast, revolves around that bait tank. Your whole day revolves around the bait tank. Every time you look in the bait tank, you're seeing the bait attendant's face. So remember, take care of the guy on the bait barge, and he will take care of you. Maybe not the first time you pulled up, because they don't know you and they have no idea, but they'll know you the next time if you tip them. And they'll know you the next time if you didn't. Don't think they won't. They're going to know exactly what Oh, yeah, there he is. There's that guy on the blue boat with the white boot stripe. They know. And it's going to change how much bait you get, the quality of your bait. And then here's another thing I talk about all the time when I'm out in front of people standing on the stage doing my seminars. If you can't get to the bait barge at 5 o'clock in the morning, go at 7. I don't know when this happened. Well, I know when it happened for our industry, for the sport boat industry and my family and a lot of the people that are watching. Our 3/4 day boats leave at 6 o'clock in the morning. Our half day boats leave at 6:30. All of a sudden, all of you with your private boats decided that 6 o'clock in the morning is the time to go. Why would you do that? And when you get to the bait barge in the morning at 6 o'clock, all the sport boats are there. All the private boats are there. If you would have got there at 5, there wouldn't even be a line. And if you can't get your group together and you can't get yourself together and you can't get to the bait barge by 5, then go get some coffee, get some donuts, and go out at 7. Because here's what happens. If you get to the bait barge and it's not packed and there's not a bunch of boats in line, the bait barge attendant can slow down how he's scooping the bait to you. If he can slow it down, he can treat your bait a little bit better. You guys don't understand. You're like, well, why doesn't he treat? When you look at the line and there's 30 boats in line, they don't have time to listen to you. They don't have time to talk to you. They don't have time to do anything. They've got to get all that bait put out to all those boats. But if you come up to the bait barge at 5 in the morning and say, hey, good morning, Jeff. Hey, we're going to go out for a couple of days. Is there any way we can slow the bait loading down, load it light? Don't fill the bait scoop all the way up to the top. Give me a half scoop at a time. We'll slow it down to load the bait. It's going to allow your bait to live better. It's going to allow you to get more bait. It's going to allow you to build a relationship with the bait barge attendant. And all that matters. Every bit of it matters. It all matters at the end of the day when you're ready to go out fishing on your boat. You want to have the best possible scenario happen. You want to be in that 0.1% of the fishermen out there. You want to have the best bait. You want to have the best opportunity to catch fish. Plus, you want to build a relationship with the bait barge attendant, especially if you go out of Dana Point every day, or you go out of Newport every time you fish, or you go out of San Pedro, or you go out of Long Beach. Get to know your bait barge attendant. Whatever bait barge you're using, show up in the morning. A lot of guys suggest this all the time. Bring a breakfast burrito, bring a couple of donuts, bring a cup of coffee, bring some sodas, bring some water. Build a relationship with the bait barge guy. You don't understand how important it is. When I go to San Pedro, I know Mike very, very well. He knows me. When I have my members call Mike and tell him, hey, we're members of Dave's website, Mike, more than happy to talk to you. Down in Long Beach, not so much. Nacho doesn't remember anything. So that bait barge, it's a different entity. It just is what it is. He likes those that he likes, and he doesn't like those who he doesn't like. When he sees me, it's like the first time he's ever met me. He's known me for 40 plus years. Down in Newport, Bryce, phenomenal human being, remembered me, knows me very, very well. Dana Point, Jeff at the bait barge in Dana Point knows me very well. Get down to San Diego, the boys down there know me very well. Mission Bay, they know me very well. So you need to have that same relationship. You need to slow down. You need to slow down. You need to pull up. I did a whole series on bait barges. You need to pull up slow. You need to relax. You need to try to have a conversation. But if it's 6 o'clock in the morning and there's 30 boats in line, you can't have a conversation. You can't build a relationship. They don't have time to wait for you to dig a couple sodas out of your ice chest and explain to them that you just got this beautiful breakfast burrito for them. So understand, 99.9% of the bait barges, Matt Ryan, are 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The one in Long Beach, supposed to be 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But that guy on the bait barge in Long Beach, we love him, we know him, but he hates to sell bait, and it really hates to sell bait when it's dark out. Just hates it. Now, Mike, in San Pedro, Bryce in Newport, Jeff in Dana Point, or whoever's working on the barge in Dana Point, and then down in Oceanside, forget about it. Oceanside's a really weird entity. I think they're open to sell bait from 6 o'clock in the morning to 6:12 in the morning, and that's it. They're only open for about 15 minutes a day. I go to the Oceanside Angling Club. I have a whole stand-up thing about it. It's a weird bait company there. I think they open at 6 in the morning and they close at 11, to be perfectly honest with you. Dana Point used to do the same thing back in the old days when the Mellows were running it. But Dana Point's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Long Beach, or San Pedro is. Newport is. San Diego and Mission Bay, both are 24-hour a day, 7 days a week. It's super important to understand what's going on at the bait barge, build a relationship. Redondo is super bizarre because of the fact that they hardly have any boats there, Matt. So to have someone in that barge 24 hours a day, 7 days a week doesn't make any sense to them because there's nobody fishing out of there. They have, I think, if you counted all the boats in the marina together, all of them, it'd probably come out to 500 boats. There's not enough business there. And out of those 500 boats, 300 of them are sailboats. So it's crazy. It's very crazy to think that you would want a guy on the bait barge 24 hours a day in Redondo because there's just no business. That's why it's different. But they've changed it up a little bit. Now you can call, tell them that you're coming, make a reservation, show up at the bait barge. They'll have the attendant on duty. And that's great, Devin. There's an exception to every rule. There's an absolute exception to every rule. But Oceanside Harbor, historically, and today and tomorrow and the next day, they open at 7 or 6 and they close at 11. When the fish are biting wide open, maybe they're open longer, but they're not open that long right now. So you gotta, don't wake them up, boy. If you wake up Nacho, just understand you're not getting any bait. And then which bait tank is the best bait tank? Round or circular in shape, dead center in the middle of your deck. Although your bait tank on your boat, Justin, the way you have it sitting right outside the door when you come out, that's perfect position. It's right there. It's out of the way. It gives you a phenomenal amount of room to fish on the back deck. Gives you a big area to fish off of. But Mark Wish makes a great bait tank at Pacific Edge. Randy at Blue Water makes a phenomenal bait tank. Those two guys are the number one bait tank builders in California, I believe. So check out their website. Go to pacificedge.com or go to bluewater.com. Randy's a great human being over at Blue Water. Mark's a great man over at Pacific Edge. Randy still does installations. Mark's not doing installations anymore. But, oh no, which bait is best to use? Well, if you can get anchovies, hello. But here's the problem. This is why most bait barges don't sell anchovies. I'm just going to be honest. I can't lie. Most bait barges don't sell anchovies because when you pull up to the bait barge and you say, hey, I want to get some sardines, and the guy at the bait barge says, oh, we only have anchovies today. First thing you do is sit down and start sucking your thumb and start crying because you don't have your big giant sardines. Big giant sardines are great if you want to bite. If you just want to bite and you want to bring in a bait that's all chewed up, then you're stoked. But if you want to catch fish, anchovies are the best bait at a live bait barge. Now, squid, but there's only a couple of bait barges that actually have squid on a normal basis. That'd be Newport, Long Beach, or San Pedro. The other bait barges up and down the coast don't have squid. But if you have anchovies, that's going to change what you catch. But most bait barges don't fish for them anymore because of the fact that you all get too pouty and you start to complain and whine and whimper, and you don't want the anchovies. So therefore, they're bringing in those giant sardines that are the size of rainbow trout, which I guess it's cool to throw a bait out and have it come in, look like it's been through a blender. I guess that's fun. I personally want to catch fish. So that's why I'm going to use anchovies. Now, live squid, phenomenal, but I can't calm down. Live squid's phenomenal, but man, it's $70 a scoop, $80 a scoop. Most people don't know how to fish with it, and most bait barges don't have it. Anchovies best, then sardines, then live squid. And then we go all through the bait, what type of bait to use. You know me, I love dead grunion when I'm fishing calicos. It's a phenomenal bait. I also love anchovies when I'm fishing calicos. And when I have a bait tank full of anchovies, I'll switch over and I'll start using some plastic, some artificials, because when I'm chumming the anchovies, the water just comes alive. Fish are jumping all over the place. Things are really good. But you got to go with what bait they have. That's the unfortunate thing. You don't know what it's going to be when you get there in the morning. We do the best we can on the game plans when we try to give you guys the best opportunity. We tell you what kind of bait they have. If you look at the game plans today, I'm telling you, along the coast from Dana Point to San Diego, they got rainbow trout for bait. So I'm suggesting that you fish with cut squid and go fish the artificial reefs. Those rainbow trout they have for bait make it really, really hard to catch anything. Justin, don't worry about Devo. Devo's all wound up today. Don't worry about him. What are you trying to ask? Are you trying to ask me? I'm sorry. If I missed your question, I'm sorry. But Justin, you know what it's like to take those anchovies and get over to Catalina with them, and how fun it is to fish with anchovies over there. But now, okay, another question Justin's asking is about how do you pick out the right bait? You're going to not take the bait scoop out of the water. When you put some bait in your bait scoop, leave it in the water, lay your hand in the scoop, and come up underneath your bait. You're going to look at that bait, and you're going to look at the most greenest bait in the bait tank. The one that has the limest green is the best. The blue ones are about to die. The reason they're blue is because they're on their way out. They're about to die. The green ones that are the color of the ivy here on Marley's cage, that's your favorite bait. The liveliest bait you can, like a lot of the captains used to say, the one you can't catch. The one you can't catch is the one you want to go with. Okay, thank you. I'm sorry. I'm trying to keep up with all these comments. The one you can't catch is the best. So you want to get the most liveliest bait you can, the greenest bait. The lime green color is the best. And now if it has a red nose, a bloody nose, red sides, that's the one you want to use for chum. Or you want to let your buddy use, especially if you're fishing against your buddy. If you guys are competitively fishing, you want to use the lime greenest one and give your buddy the blue one with the red nose and the messed up sides, because then you won't have to worry about him catching anything. How many of you have fished when you cast your bait out, the minute it hits the water, it gets bit? That's because you have the most liveliest bait you can. When I cast my bait out, it hits the water. If it's starting to pull line off my reel, I know I'm in. I know I'm in there. I know I'm about to get a bite. He's hauling butt. He's swimming really fast. It's like if you go outside and run down the street, if there's a dog around, he's going to chase you. Same thing with your bait. If that bait hits the water and he is swimming as fast as he can, the other fish are going to jump in and take off and start chasing him. They're going to start chasing him right away. That's why the liveliest bait you can find is the best bait. Yeah, give your buddy the bloody ones. And then we're going to end this with the hook. Now, you don't know what they have at the bait barge. You know that you looked at our game plans and Dave said they got rainbow trout at the bait barge, or they got squid at this bait barge, or they got anchovies at this bait barge. But to be perfectly honest, we don't know if that bait boat fished tonight. And when we get to the bait barge in the morning, the bait will be totally different. So here's what I do. When I'm going with you on your boat to teach you how to fish on your boat. On the way out, I'm going to take all your rods and I'm going to string them up. I'm going to put the line through all the guides and I'm going to bring it down and I'm going to have it by the reel. When we get to the bait barge and we load the bait on the boat, now I know what size the bait is. So now I'm going to go into my tackle box. If it's anchovies, I'm going to number 4 or a number 2 hook. If it's sardines, I'm going to use a 2-aught, a 3-aught, or a 4-aught, depending on the size of the sardine. And then the other thing is I'm going to make sure that I have a black hook or a bronze hook. I'm not going to use chrome-plated hooks or nickel-plated hooks. I'm going to use bronze or black always, because the minute that hook hits the water inside your sardine, your anchovy, your squid, whatever you're using, that hook's invisible. But if you're using nickel-plated hooks, the light is reflecting off that hook. Now, my kids have chrome hanging off their nose, their ears, their tongue. That's great. But my bait, I do not want chrome hanging off the nose of my bait, the tongue of my bait, the butt of my bait. I know a lot of you guys like to anally hook your bait. A lot of you like to nose hook your bait. When I'm fishing anchovies, I'm gill hooking it. As soon as you put a sinker on, you got to hook your bait in the nose. As soon as you put a sinker on, you've got to hook your bait in the nose. Why? Have you ever seen a bait swimming backwards? Have you ever seen a bait swimming sideways? No. Marley, have you? He said no. So when you put a sinker on, that's going to drag the bait through the water. When the sinker's sinking, the bait's getting dragged through the water. So you want to hook it in the nose so it's swimming as it's getting dragged all around the water. Also, the really cool thing about nose hooking your bait, any of you ever been bit when you're winding your bait in? Any of you ever been bit when you're winding your bait in? Anybody? I have a million times because I hook my bait in the nose. When I'm winding my bait in, the sardine's swimming back to the boat. Fish eats it while it's hooked in the nose. If you butt hook your bait, now you're not going to get any bites when you're retrieving it, because no fish in the world is going to eat it when it's getting drug in backwards. It looks the most unrealistic it could possibly look. And then if you're gill hooking your anchovy, it's going to get bit right away, or you just give it a quick jerk, it falls off, wind in your bare hook, put another bait on, throw it back out there. And then we went through the hooks. Here's the other thing that I see people make up the big mistake with their live bait. They fish with it too long. If you look at Devin Cruz, you look at Dave Burris, you look at Justin Botrell, you look at Josh, or you look at John Stanley. When you go out fishing with us, we cast our live bait in the water. We already know when it hits the water if we're going to get a bite or not. I personally, I can't leave my bait in the water for 5 seconds. If it hits the water and it's not swimming, it's coming back, getting flicked off, getting a new bait put on. I stood on the bait tank for 20-something years as a captain of a sport boat. And here's what I would say over and over and over. Change your bait. Change your bait. Time to put a new bait on. If you haven't changed your bait since you heard me say it last time, your bait's out there too long. The number one thing most of you do wrong is you leave that bait out there way too long. I know you know, I got ADD, so I don't have 5 seconds to wait. Nothing magical is going to happen. The bait hits the water. I know if it's going to get bit or not. The minute it hits the water, I already know, because I've been fishing with live bait for 50 plus years and I can feel it on the end of my line. And I know if I'm going to get a bite. I don't care if I'm throwing a mackerel at a marlin or if I'm throwing an anchovy at a calico bass. When that bait hits the water, I know if it's going to get a bite or not. I don't give the bait seconds. It hits the water. It's not doing what I want. I wind it in. I flick it off. I get a new bait. Too many of you spend way too much time soaking that bait, wanting some magical thing to happen that isn't going to happen. That's why I tell everybody to get the biggest bait tank you could possibly get. Now, Kelly Girl and I's boat, 21-foot Wellcraft in Dana Point Harbor, the bait tank holds 60 gallons of water. I know that's a lot of bait. That's a lot of bait tank. That's a big bait tank. But when I go fishing, I want to catch, gang. And I'm going to go burn through the bait like that. If you put 3 or 4 people on your boat only holds a half a scoop of bait, like I've told everybody, you're going to be out of bait after your first stop. And here's something funny, and I got to get going because I'm going fishing. Here's something super funny. I've had people tell me, oh, Captain Dave, we never run out of bait. That's because you don't catch anything. It's very easy to not run out of bait when you're catching nothing. You go with me, we're running out of bait every day. We run out of bait, always. It's super important to have the most bait. Yeah, you got to chum, Devo. You're right. You got to chum. You got to change your bait every minute or so. If your bait's out there for 60 seconds, it's out there way too long. But I say a minute just because you got to give them a time frame. A lot of people are just, let's get honest. A lot of people are lazy. That's why they don't change their bait. They're finally able to catch a bait in the bait tank. They walk over, they kill it while they're hooking it on, they throw it in the water, and then they just stand there and wait. If you're going to go fishing, it's not the day to be lazy. The day to go fishing is the day to work your ass off. The best time to be lazy is when you're at work. But don't ever be lazy when you're fishing. When you're fishing, that is your time. Time is super valuable. Change your bait, change your bait, change your bait. And if you're thinking about changing your bait, change your bait. If the thought went in your mind that my bait's been out there too long, it's time, you should have changed it 5 seconds before that. Change your bait, change your bait. No, the last thing we want you to do, Jake, is bring your rod to the bait tank. Oh my God, nothing pissed me off more than that because you're stabbing me in the eye. When you bring your rod to the bait tank, if I was on the bait tank chumming, I would throw your rod on the deck. Quit bringing your rod to the bait tank. First of all, when you bring your rod to the bait tank, now you're a one-handed fisherman because one hand has to hold on to your rod and the other hand grabs your bait. How do you hook on your bait? You can't hook your bait on because you only have 2 hands. If you grab your bait and you have your rod, how do you hook your bait on? Don't bring your rod to the bait tank. And if you're on a tuna bite or something, take it to the other side where no one's at. Put your rod on the rail. Grab your bait, walk over to your rod, hook your bait on, cast your line in the water. If you're bringing your rod to the bait tank, oh my gosh. If you're on my boat and you're bringing your rod to your bait tank, oh my God, you're going to get ridiculed. You're going to get yelled at. I don't want to grow up with one eye. That was one of my favorite things to say. Do not bring your rod to the bait tank. Because where's that rod tip at if you bring your rod to the bait tank? It's right in my face. It's right in my face. And the second thing is, you got way too many people around the bait tank with their rod. Oh my God. It just pisses me off to no end. I don't care if you're a superstar sport boat captain and you tell the people to bring the rod to the bait tank. Oh my gosh, that's not a good thing. Don't ever bring your rod to the bait tank. And that's why we don't put notches on the bait tank for your rods. I'm sorry. I don't want to piss you off. I'm just being honest. I told you, Jake, I can only be honest. I can't sugarcoat anything. I'm not going to ever sugarcoat anything. I'm only going to tell you the truth. I ran sport boats for 20 years. There's nothing pisses me off more than you bringing your rod to the bait tank. Oh my God, that just pisses me off. All right. And then poor Tim Ogilvy, if he's on the bait tank chumming, he only has one eye and you're going to poke his other eye out with your rod. Now he's got no eyes. Terrible. That's what I used to tell everybody about my buddy Max. That was my deckhand for years. He's only got one eye. Leave your rod at the rail. Do not bring your rod to the bait tank. Don't bring your rod to the bait tank on your... This is what I used to tell people on the yacht when they would bring the rod to the bait tank. You do not need to bring your rod to the bait tank. Nobody on the boat's going to steal your rod. If somebody is, if they're going to grab your rod and jump over the side and start swimming with your fishing pole, let them have it. I'll give you another one. It'd be just fun to watch the guy swimming away with your fishing pole. But never, ever bring your rod to the bait tank. On your private boat, on a charter boat, on a sport boat. And if you're on a boat where the captain tells you to bring your rod to the bait tank, you know you're on the wrong boat. You got on the wrong boat. And I don't care. Call me up. superstar captains, call me up and explain to me why that makes sense, because it doesn't make any sense on any planet or any boat. All right, gang, I've got to go fishing. I love you guys. Thank you all for watching me. Follow me on YouTube. Always hit the notification button, the subscribe button, share. Be there for me. And if somebody tells you to bring your rod to the bait tank, call me and tell me. Yeah, don't bring 6. I love the guys that bring the tackle box, Justin, that you need a forklift to lift on the boat. When I show up on the boat to go fishing, I got a bag of hooks in my pocket, and I got 4 or 5 sinkers in my other pocket. That's it. That's what I'm fishing with, and it does fine. And I bring 1 rod and 2 reels. I'll put another reel in my bag so I can change the reel out if I have a reel problem. But bringing 50 rods to go fishing is the absolute most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. All right, everybody, have a good day. Turn off the news. They're all lying. We're going to go live out on the boat tomorrow fishing marlin. It should be fun. I'll see you all tomorrow. Have a great day. Like I said, turn off the news. They're all lying. I wish Elon Musk would buy all the news channels and fire everybody, because remember,